What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Points Per podcast. We got the whole band back together tonight. I'm really excited. We got my co-host Will, we got Vishy, and myself. I'm excited to have you both in here because I think this is going to be a really interesting discussion. I'm excited for it. It's because we're hitting the redo button tonight. We are going to be redrafting for 2025 fantasy football with what we know now through the first 4 weeks of the NFL season. And I think this is a timely spot to do it. I've seen this... not stat, but I've seen this piece of information show up in a couple places, most recently from Jacob Sanderson. He says, historically, 4 weeks is about the time it takes for year-to-date production to become as of or more predictive than preseason ADP and projecting rest of season results. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing, basically redrafting for this year. But before we get into it, Will, how you feeling tonight?
Hey, man, I'm feeling good. I love mulligans. I wish this was real life, but we're going to have to do good enough for this video.
Absolutely. Vishy, are you excited for this one?
Yes, sir. I mean, these are basically my draft rankings all along, so I'm not really stressed. I'm just going to be going through them again. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Love to hear it. Love the confidence. We're definitely going to get into some disagreements, so I'm excited for that as well. I'm going to pull up the board that we're going to be using. We're using Fantasy Pros just kind of to list this off. This is their preseason rankings, and so we'll kind of show how much that's changed. We're going to be basing these off of half PPR is going to be our standard. 1 quarterback, start 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. So if you guys are playing in a different league format, say it's more wide receivers, then you probably want to rank them a little bit higher. More flexes, same thing. If it's standard scoring, rank the running backs higher, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I think it should be pretty easy to kind of copy and paste these rankings into your own situations. And I think we have it decided. Vishy, you're going to start the draft off. You're going to go first. Then it's going to be Will. Then it's going to be me. And we don't have to snake it. We can just kind of go in order. Collaborative effort here tonight. We're just trying to make the best consensus rankings that we can. But Vishy, I'll send it to you. Start this thing off.
Yes, sir. I'm going to start off the bat. I see your cursor moving. If we were to redraft today, I think Puka should go 101. The Rams offense has been on fire. I think he's averaging 22 points a game or something in half PPR. And that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I think receivers are valuable in receiving this year in particular, that a lot of the first-round receivers that were projected aren't producing at least up to the hype that they were expected to. And so I think he's a kind of a clear cut, or at least in tier 1 here at the 101.
Absolutely agree. Shout out to Matt Stafford for being a wide receiver 1 factory.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, I have no arguments here. In full PPR, he is the number 1 overall player, including quarterbacks. In half PPR, I believe he's 4th. So yeah, I don't think there's any reason to think that he's anything but the first overall pick. And I agree that he should be in a tier of his own. But maybe we can discuss that as we go. Will, who's going to be number 2?
Number 2, I've been struggling with it a little bit actually, but I'm going to go ahead and hit it. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey at the number 2 spot. He's just been extremely solid. He's been good at everything except for efficiency metrics. But when it comes to volume, he's everything you would want. He's number 1 in weighted opportunities. He's number 1 in fantasy points per game at the running back position. I think he's averaging 24 right now, something ridiculous. He's number 1 in targets right now, number 1 in receptions. It's just everything you would want out of a running back. And we don't chase and predict injuries in fantasy. So as far as we can see, he's doing fine so far as the season's going, and just going forward should be solid.
Vish, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I agree. I have him in a couple teams. If we assume that he continues to stay healthy while the rest of the 49ers go down, he has to be in the at least conversation for top 3 picks.
Yeah, I have him in a tier here with a few other guys, so I'm perfectly fine with having him at 2. Vishy, you listed off where he ranks among running backs in terms of receptions. I think if you listed him as a wide receiver, he would still be 2nd in receptions in the league. So he's an absolute cheat code, especially in full PPR. But even in half PPR, I like him in this tier. I'll be 3rd. And like I said, I do have a group of 4 that I think are fairly interchangeable here. You don't have to go too far down the list. I think Bijan is probably going to be my next guy. The amount of volume that he's been getting in this Atlanta offense is incredible. Even with Tyler Algier kind of eating in and closing games for them, he's still been able to get his. He's highly involved in the passing game, which I think has been really important for his floor. And the offensive line, I think, has improved as the weeks have gone on. And so we've seen his rushing efficiency go up as well. The big plays, which had kind of been missing through the first couple of years of his career, are starting to come to fruition now. And so, yeah, I think this is one that the draft community had right. I think he has every reason to be this high.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really love to see this year, as opposed to last year with Bijan, is that they're really exposing those mismatches with Bijan and really making things happen, really getting them in motion with the offense as well, and just moving them all over the field. So, yeah, absolutely love that pick right there too.
Yeah, I got nothing to add with Bijan. I agree.
Dig it. All right, Vishy, you're back up.
Going to the next one, I think it's actually kind of a similar player. I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm imagining he's one of the guys you had in that tier too.
Absolutely.
He's also producing crazy. I mean, something like 17, 18 points per game. The Lions are relying on him. I think David Montgomery has performed pretty well too. But I mean, they're just a team that can support that kind of two-headed approach. I think you mentioned Algier maybe cutting into Bijan's carries, and maybe Montgomery's cutting into Jahmyr's as well a little bit. But I mean, he's still producing a ton. And I think his worst game in terms of fantasy points was week 1, and he had 10 targets and 10 receptions in that game. So even at his worst, with no touchdowns scored, he's going to be dropping double-digit points.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't even have that much to add. I just think that he's doing exactly what we had hoped coming into the season, and hasn't fully supplanted David Montgomery. None of us expected him to kick him to the sideline or anything like that, but his workload has increased, his rush share has increased, and I think his usage in the passing game has also increased. And so those are all positives and makes me want to rank him in this second tier.
Absolutely.
All right. Will, who are we going to put next?
This is another one I did kind of struggle with a little bit, but I think I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here at this spot. And this is one where I'm going to believe in the talent. And also just the situation with the Vikings is a little bit strange. Obviously, a slow start to the season with J.J. McCarthy back there at quarterback. But since Carson Wentz has taken the helm, Justin Jefferson has looked like the Justin Jefferson of old. He's been making all the same plays, and they've been pushing the ball down the field to him. Now, do we think Carson Wentz is going to stay the quarterback for the rest of the season? To be honest, we have no idea. Kevin O'Connell's been extremely cryptic with the quarterback situation. There's some who believe that J.J. McCarthy isn't even hurt. They just think that he's benched, and this is a soft way of doing it. So it's a little unclear, but all I know right now is that with Carson Wentz at the helm, Justin Jefferson is looking like Justin Jefferson, and I'm cool with taking him at this spot.
All right. So this is no shade to Justin Jefferson. I think he is himself. I don't see any issue with him, the player. Personally, in the rankings that I had prepared for this video, I actually have him like 2 tiers below this. Maybe that's too dramatic. Maybe that's going too far. But I think this is the first one that maybe we'll have some argument about. But Vishy, I'm curious your thoughts here as well.
This is a little higher than I had him. I think the only people I have really above him, if I'm being honest, are just a few more running backs, which we'll get to like within the next couple of picks probably. So we'll get there in a second. I mean, I believe in the talent as well.
Absolutely.
I guess I think there's a little more uncertainty. There's just a few folks that I'm more certain about, or maybe more confident about on a week-to-week basis is all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm in the same boat. But so I think the way that we can do it is we can leave that there for now, and then we can get into our picks and maybe revisit and potentially re-rank if we can convince you of that, Will. But that is your slot to choose, and I can't
Bro
hate
gets
on
the
that.
veto. He gets the veto all the way.
Exactly. All right. So that puts me next. And for me, the guy that I'm going to choose would be the last of my second tier. And that's going to be Jonathan Taylor. So let me pull him up just under Justin Jefferson. This Colts offense has obviously surprised us like crazy. They've been fantastic with Daniel Jones at the helm, Shane Steichen leading a phenomenal offensive scheme. And Jonathan Taylor has looked like his old self, like the guy that came out of Wisconsin, the guy that was arguably the best running back in the league just from a pure rushing standpoint. I think with Daniel Jones, he's been able to get at least a little bit more involved in the passing game to up his floor and make him a little bit more matchup proof and game script proof. And he's been putting up just absolutely ridiculous numbers. I believe in half PPR, he's the RB2 on the season. And so, yeah, I definitely went running back heavy with the top end of my list. And so maybe that's kind of why I'm favoring him over Justin Jefferson in this scenario, but that's where I'm at. What do you guys think?
I think based on play, this is the other name that I would have picked in space of Justin Jefferson. So I don't disagree with this placement at all. I think he could have been higher. Like, I think that they are interchangeable in terms of value, but I do think that Jonathan Taylor has just been absolutely electric this year. The only concern that I would even have somewhat is just that Daniel Jones may take some touches away around the goal line, but at the end of the day, that hasn't even really shown to be an issue. And Jonathan Taylor still has that home run ability as well. So
Yeah, I don't know much to add. I kind of want to segue into the next player because I think it's a similar player. I think this guy is surprising that I'm going to put him here. I think it's
Sure.
a running back that also has a quarterback that we thought might poach some goal line touches, and he has so
do
far,
it.
but he's still producing, and that's James Cook.
Hell
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
You might have to scroll down a bit here, and I think this is someone that like analysts might like. I mean, I think there's a lot of people. I'm not an analyst. I'm just a casual fantasy player. So I think this is some of the analysts were surprised by it, and I think he was being drafted in like the mid third or something. I'm curious what. I mean, yeah, you'd scroll down a good bit just to get him
Yeah,
up
it
there.
was surprisingly far. It's going to take me a second to drag him up there.
But I mean, he's getting like 15, 20 touches a game. He's scoring touchdowns. They're relying on him. I think there was some worry about how the Bills spread the ball around a lot, and he doesn't have that much receiving volume, at least historically, not plenty. But he's getting a couple targets a game, and he's averaging 20, 21 points a game right now or something. And even if that regresses a little bit, that's a pretty solid pick for the first 4 weeks. I feel like the James Cook owners have pretty decent records right now because of that pick alone in the third round.
Yeah, he's to me one of the best value picks. I mean, there's definitely some guys that ended up way down the board that have jumped higher than him, but in terms of the top 3 rounds, like I think he's moved up maybe the most of anybody. He's next on my list. I did have him a tier below Jonathan Taylor, but really it doesn't need to be that distinct. I think that they're in the same general range. And so I completely agree with this ranking. Will, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. I think James Cook has kind of developed into that running back that Buffalo's been looking for the past couple of years. And honestly, last year was an indicator, and this year's just reinforcing kind of what we saw last year, that introduction. So absolutely. And also the Bills are first in pace of play. So I feel like as long as that keeps up, he's going to be extremely valuable.
Yeah, and it's not just volume alone. I mean, yeah, he's getting 20 touches a game, but on those 20 touches, let's see, over the last 3 weeks, he's gone 22, 19, and 21 attempts, and he's averaging 5.5, 5.5, and 6.5 yards per carry. So it's not just volume. Like it is. I wouldn't want to say efficient. It's just successful volume. This is ridiculous efficiency.
This team is humming, and he is certainly benefiting from that. And he's just looked great himself, like you guys are saying. Like he's reminding me of Dalvin a little bit. He's looking really good. All right, Will, who is your next pick?
Absolutely. My next pick, I'm going to go over to Detroit, and it's going to be Mr. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just so steady, so reliable every single year. And things did get off to a slow start just because the Packers defense exceeded expectations, I'm sure, on every side of things. But as soon as this offense got rolling, Amon-Ra has just been the wide receiver. Honestly, he's been the wide receiver too. So I wouldn't be mad if he was also forward. That's why I said this range for me was a little difficult because I feel like all of these guys have been amazing. But just in terms of consistency, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the most consistent you're going to see out there week in and week out.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. And I completely agree. He's the next guy that I had on my list. He has been running incredibly hot in the touchdown department. But I'm not going to project that he's going to stop necessarily. Bishy, any thoughts on that or just the ranking in general?
No, I agree. I have nothing to add.
I do want to say on the touchdown department thing, that is extremely true, but they are just throwing the ball to him every time in the red zone as well. I think he's way up there in terms of red zone share.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love him in this spot. All right, the next one for me, we're going to go back to the running back position since I did say going to go very running back heavy here. It's going to be Devon Achane. It's been, whoa, did that work? There we go. He's up there. It's been an interesting season for the Dolphins. Certainly not the most successful. And now we see Tyreek Hill going to be done for the season and potentially career. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully not. But I think that injury could go one of two ways for this team. It could make things crash and burn. They're not a very good football team. They had a great week last week versus the Jets, which they looked abysmal. So I'm not going to like project that forward necessarily. But it also could mean that Devon Achane is going to be even more targeted than he was before. And he was already, I believe, behind Christian McCaffrey, second in the league in running back receptions. And so if that has a chance to increase further, along with his already efficient ground game, I don't see there being any reason for him not to be ranked super high.
I absolutely agree. I feel like, especially with the latest with Tyreek Hill going down, it's just even more opportunity out there now for target share as well. Also, pairs out to Tyreek Hill for that recovery because that was insane to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing to add. I think the volume is only growing with injuries. I mean, he might start getting like full blown CMC type usage, which he already almost is. So
yeah,
no comments
here. I guess something that I didn't mention that I'm at least moderately concerned about is Ollie Gordon. I'm not worried about what he does in between the 20s necessarily. I'm fine with, HN not getting all the in between the tackles work, but he is stealing some of the goal line work and the red zone touches. So that could cap the upside just a little bit, which is why he's not up there with the elite running backs for me.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. And then next, I also, if you want to insert a tier break, maybe just for clarity, because I think
right after HN.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's good. We could get in the nuances of other tier breaks here, but I don't want someone tuning in kind of halfway, 15 minutes into a video and seeing Jamar.
True. Yeah.
And no shade to Jamar. All right. I was between a running back and a receiver here. I imagine the receiver will go in the next pick here too, so I won't get him in this redraft per se. But I'm going to go with the running back. I'm going to go Saquon here.
Okay.
Saquon has not produced 20 points per game like maybe some people expected or some people drafted him to be. But the usage is there. He's talented, and given the way the Philadelphia offense has looked in terms of how frequently they're throwing it, which has not been frequent, anyone who owns Devonta Smith or AJ Brown knows this. Unless you own Goddard and you're happy with the couple touchdowns he gets, I think the volume is there. They haven't been the most efficient. I think he's averaging like 2 or 3 yards per carry, but if their offense continues to rely on the run game like it has, and he continues to not be injured, which he hasn't yet, I think the volume is there. He's going to be a very consistent producer, and we know what he did last year.
Well, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. And also, I believe the Eagles are running like the second most run plays out of any team in the NFL per game. So as long as that persists as well, he's just the focal point of this team. And if anything else fails, you can depend on Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts at least producing for this team.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. And I barely have him lower. I think I have him at 13 instead of 10. So, don't consider this like a crazy argument against necessarily. But what you mentioned about them being so run heavy is kind of what's concerning me a little bit. I know that sounds backwards, but like I think if they opened it up like they did in that second half against the Rams, the entire team would be more efficient. There would be more scoring opportunities for everybody involved. I think teams are just kind of stacking the box against Saquon, and we've seen his efficiency decrease kind of dramatically this year from last year. And obviously last year was a complete outlier for him. I don't expect him to repeat that. But it is a significant decline. And so I just want this offense to open it up in general. I think if AJ Brown and Devonta Smith were more involved, it would lead to more long touchdowns and big explosive plays from Saquon, and it would help everybody. So yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous about the environment as a whole, but I totally understand having him here. All right. No.
Will.
Vishy just went. Will, you're next, right?
Yep, that should be me right here. And the next person I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba for the Seattle Seahawks. Just because he has been absolutely phenomenal this year, both when the lights are very bright and just in normal play. And just some stats to go off for the year so far. Air yard share, he is number 1 in the league right now, 51.7% air yard share, 35.4% target share, 35.8% target rate, 87.2% route percentage. But just in terms of how involved this guy is with this offense, he is extremely involved. In terms of the receivers, he is the most involved receiver there. when they're looking to somebody to make a play, it is Jackson Smith-Njigba. And in terms of just the opportunity that he has, it's just extremely there for this team in terms of what percentage of the plays are going towards Jackson Smith-Njigba. And he's been making, very good with it so far.
Yeah, I couldn't be more encouraged with how this offense has looked in general. There was a lot of worry, not necessarily about the Kubiak system, but just about Sam Darnold being behind what we all expected to be a really porous offensive line in a new system, not with, the quarterback whisperer Kevin O'Connell anymore. But I've been really impressed with Darnold. And I think the role that Jackson has is incredible. We were worried that, he was just going to be a slot guy in an offense that runs a lot of 12 personnel, and that just seemed like a weird fit, but they've just made him the absolute alpha. He plays all over the field. And yeah, they're deploying him in ways that make him a really, really high-end fantasy producer.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. He is who I was choosing between with Saquon. I'd be happy with either here.
All right. I like that. And then for me, this would be the last guy in this tier, but we can discuss that as we go. I'm going to go once again back to the running back position. I'm going to move Josh Jacobs up here. Not necessarily the most exciting, or at least it wasn't pre-draft. And we saw through the first 3 weeks, he played some of the toughest run defenses in the entire league. Still managed to, not sink your team by any means. I think he was averaging, I don't know, like between 10 and 15 fantasy points. And then we finally saw him get kind of a cake matchup last week versus the Cowboys, and he put up nearly 30 points. He got in the end zone twice. He looked like himself. The efficiency was back. And I'm just really happy to have a guy of his skill level attached to an offense that I know that's going to be this consistent. It's tough to project which of the receivers in this offense are going to eat, but we know that they're going to be in scoring position. And a lot of times when they are, they hand it off to Josh Jacobs.
I think something that was really encouraging to see from Josh Jacobs also is that even when the team was struggling and when they were down, he was somebody they were still looking to make a lot of plays, both in the run game and in the passing game as well. So he's just hyper involved everywhere in this offense. I do love Josh Jacobs there.
Yep, he's exactly who I would have taken as well. I mean, these players just align with, they're going where I think they would go here for sure.
I dig it. Do you both think that there's a tier break here, or would you guys include any more names after this?
I think it's pretty fluid. If you want to put one, you can. If you think one aligns with yours.
No, let's keep it going.
Although I do like my next guy, though. You might have to scroll down a bit, Ian. I'm enjoying the scroll downs.
Let's hear it.
Give me O'Marion.
Yes, sir.
We're I think obviously the analysts were pretty high on him coming out of the offseason with his talent situation. Obviously, there were concerns about the volume that he would get with Najee there. But if I'm remembering right, Najee is, no longer a threat to his usage, at least for now. And if we look exclusively at his points per game, I don't think it's going to be as mind-numbing as some of the other guys in this tier or the tier above, because he had a slightly slower start with Najee on the field. But I mean, he looks poised to go nuclear now, and so I feel like he has to be drafted. What would be like the 1-2 turn here now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that sounds kind of interesting now, but I don't think that's a bad place for him to go in a redraft.
Nah, I like that spot. I feel like ever since he's gotten the volume with this offense, he's just taken it and kind of, pardon the pun, but he's taken it and ran with it. I think he's done really well with it too.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the stats so I have them in front of me. But after Najee went down, like his attempts through the first 2 weeks were 15 and 8, and maybe even more importantly, his receptions were 2 and 1. But then heading into week 3 and week 4, we're talking about 19 and then 12 attempts on the ground, and 6 and 5 receptions through the air. The volume has increased dramatically, and we've seen that correlate with a heavy increase in just his general production in half PPR, 22 and 25 fantasy points the last 2 weeks. The only worry that I have, and the reason that I think he still belongs kind of right at the beginning of that second round, is the injuries to the offensive line. We knew Rashawn Slater had gone down right at the beginning of the season, but now Joe Alt is also dealing with an injury, and we're not sure how long he's going to be off the field. So both of their tackles are done, and I'm curious to see how that affects the offense as a whole and potentially the running lanes for Hampton. But he's really impressed me these last 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, Will, you're up next.
Next up, I think I'm going to go with Drake London here from the Atlanta Falcons. just because I know he has struggled so far this season, but in terms of the opportunity, everything is still there. I feel like a lot of it has just come down to play calling and the offense just trying to find its footing with Michael Penix back there throwing the ball and getting comfortable. Because just in terms of the metrics for him, he is fifth in target rate at 28.9%, and he has an almost 30% target share in this offense. And in terms of first read targets, he is first in the NFL at 34, and first read target share, he's sixth with 43%. So he is someone the offense is looking to get the ball to early and often. They just have to really get this offense going. And I think once they do, we're going to see a lot more of these boom weeks like we had out of Drake London last week. And I think that's going to be more of what we're going to see going forward.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I still am not doubting Drake London's talent, but I'm starting to doubt Michael Penix's talent. I'm a little concerned about how he looks and how he can operate this offense. That's really the only thing that would lead me to rank him a little bit lower. He's still in the same tier. And like I said, a lot of these guys are interchangeable for me, so I don't mind it one bit. But I do have him a little bit lower, and it's really just about the offense and Penix's ability to feed him the way that we all hoped.
That's fair.
I think he definitely belongs around here. Like, if not early second, mid to early second, I think is very fair for him given his usage. And dude, like the Falcons will just pick up the elite dragon Joe Flacco. We're not. he'll feed Drake London. I got to bring him up every episode, man. It's my thing. But yeah, I think he belongs around here.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. All right, I might shock you guys. I don't know. We'll see if we're in the same boat here. I'm going to bring in a quarterback. I think Josh Allen belongs next.
Yeah, I was going to pick him, so I'm a little pissed off about that.
You wanted to make the splash?
Yeah.
Too bad. I'm doing it anyway. It's going to be Josh Allen. The late round quarterback mentality needs to be thrown out the window. He's just so consistent and, consistently producing at producing super high end production. We're talking about, somebody have the numbers in front of me or in front of you? Is he like 24 points per game right now or something like that?
I got it. 24.8, basically 25 points per game.
25 points a game. At a certain point, it's about just putting the most points on the board, less about positional scarcity or less about, potential injury risk and having the backups for the running backs and the receivers. We just want the guys that score the most points. And right now in half PPR leagues, Josh Allen is the guy that's doing that. And I think it adds so much to your fantasy roster to have that elite QB. We were hoping that Lamar Jackson would be in this tier through 2 weeks. He was, but now he's dealing with a hamstring injury. And also, I don't know if he was already kind of hampered by an injury or what was going on, but the 2 weeks prior to that, he was struggling a little bit. So Josh Allen clears everybody, in my opinion. He's far and away the best QB.
I absolutely agree. I think end of the day, game's about a bucket, and Josh Allen is one of the best at scoring. And just with the way they've been running this offense, something I mentioned in the recap video earlier this week with how they run with the receivers, his efficiency's gone up because they've really just kind of told him he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to focus on doing any one thing. And yeah, he's just been able to do it all. And I feel like he's up top, and there's no other quarterback that's really close to him right now.
Yeah, this is the third pick of the second round is where we have him in this redraft. But I bet if we ran like the value over replacement, like the WARP metrics and whatnot, even just through 4 weeks, I bet he would be worth it. I mean, he's producing like crazy and reliably. So
yeah, so on my personal list, same tier, but I had him at 12. He would have been a first round pick, in my opinion.
Okay.
But all right, let's move on.
Keep working through this. I want to put a note in before. So I'm really interested. I'm gonna name a player. I think we can keep it going, and it's a player that is healthy and performing. But I think what's interesting is I'm curious. Well, we'll start ranking some players that have gotten injured. I'll call out a few, like Bucky or a CD. I think these are some players that, I mean, if we were to look at like a rest of season ranking, like they're probably around here. And in redraft, they were certainly higher, or in draft ranking, sorry, they were certainly higher. But I'm curious how we'll value them, because when you're drafting a player in the second, I mean, you want someone, especially if you have knowledge of how they're going to be healthy, like to be healthy throughout the season. So I think I'm curious where y'all will start ranking some of these guys that we're maybe passing over now. But here I'm going to take Rome Odunze. So you might have to scroll again. He's someone we've talked about on the pod quite a bit. Yeah, you can have to keep scrolling. We
is.
there he is. We've talked about him on the podcast quite a bit. I think we're excited for the Bears' offense this year, preseason. Maybe kind of preseason in the weeks 1 and 2. Maybe it wasn't the most encouraging, but we've seen who's kind of emerged out of that receiving core. It hasn't been Luther Burden yet, and DJ Moore hasn't gotten the usage that maybe we would have expected. So he might end up getting traded. Rumors are starting to swirl about that, but Room's produced well. He's getting 10 targets a game, and I'm surprised actually at he's had like 5 or 6 touchdowns already this season, which is contributing to his fantasy performance. But I still think he belongs. He's been very reliable. He's getting consistent, almost double-digit targets, and his snap share has been near 100% every game. So I think he would belong in the mid-second in a redraft.
Yeah, I like it. Will, I want to let you talk about it because Rome's one of your boys.
No, I love it. I think Rome has, proven that he's an alpha in this offense. I think that every week there's somebody he's somebody that they look to. He scored every single week as well so far this season. So he's somebody they're looking to for red zone plays, just any type of play really out there looking for him, and they're looking to get him involved. And it's just funny that anytime Shane Waldron leaves a room, somebody ends up popping up like this,
Yeah.
But hey.
No, I completely agree. The production has been really encouraging. We're starting to see what we kind of hoped to see from his prospect profile. I think the chemistry and connection between him and Caleb has been fantastic. So yeah, I have him right in this range as well. This is going to be another one where we have to scroll a bit, and another one of Will's favorites. It'll take me a sec. But I want to pull Emeka Egbuka all the way up here. What do y'all think about that?
Hell yeah.
That's
do it, brother.
Crazy.
Do it.
That's crazy.
Oh, I'm doing it. Vishy, tell me why you think that's so crazy.
It's not. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's crazy. Man.
It feels crazy.
Yeah, pull out your ESPN open scores, nerd.
It's crazy.
Yeah, this is. I will be honest. The stat nerd in me does not like this. This is definitely vibes based. This is film. This is my analysis is he's a dog. He's a beast. He wins against everybody, even if he's not winning in the open score, like Will said. Even if he's not creating the most separation, his talent has absolutely translated to the NFL level. He is scoring at a crazy rate. His touchdown rate, probably unsustainable, but it hasn't slowed down to this point. And he's had the opening of Mike Evans going down with injury. Chris Godwin did come back and get targeted 10 times last week. We'll see if that level of volume continues and also where he's at health-wise and if he can kind of maintain that throughout the season. But right now he's the wide receiver 1 for this team and performing incredibly well. And this offense as a whole hasn't taken as much of a step back as I thought they might. Excuse me. Without Liam Cohen, it's kind of continued as they had last year. So with the level of production that he's putting up, it does seem wild to have him all the way up here, but I think it's warranted.
Hey man, Emeka Egbuka is inevitable. Yeah. I just remember, before the season started, we had talked about Emeka Egbuka, and I feel like a lot of the season has gone a lot of the way I said it would, just in terms of how the team has. I felt like they wouldn't take too much of a step back, and there would be some weeks without Mike Evans there as well. And so far, we're seeing that. I think the biggest question now is what's going to happen when all 3 of them are on the field.
Yeah.
That's the biggest question now. But as long as it's just 2 of them running out there, Emeka Egbuka is going to be super featured in this offense. But I honestly think when all 3 of them are out there, I think he still will be.
I think he'll command targets for sure. He's good. But I had to say it's a little crazy. Like in a couple of weeks, there's a non-zero chance that both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are on the field together, which that's always a risky bet with their injury histories, but there's a chance. And if that's the case, and we saw Chris Godwin, they were not afraid to at least target him. That's going to be like 15, 20 targets going to those 2. And now you have Emeka. Basically, I think Emeka right now, even though he's a rookie in the kind of the early quarter of the season, is producing like kind of as high as it can be for this season. I think that's fair to say. Like he's performing very well, but I don't see that going much higher the rest of the season. That being said, like his production alone probably warrants a second round pick. Like this is fair. It's just crazy seeing where he was being drafted and how that slowly climbed over the summer, but it's still nowhere near the second round. There was no.
Yeah, I fully understand that argument, and I'd be willing to move him down if we want to argue that. I do think it's kind of a weird situation for a rookie receiver where typically you would say that their highest upside and level of production would come at the back end of the season. Whereas for Ibuka, it's kind of right now that we're probably seeing at least the best opportunity for him to cement himself. And if he can do that, then it might not matter when Mike Evans comes back and Chris Godwin is back and fully rolling.
Yeah, he can fully be. This could fully be the top end of Emeka Egbuka right here. Like if he just keeps performing like this, that's fine too. But like right now, he's the wide receiver 7, and you draft him as like the wide receiver 30. So it's like,
yeah, sure thing.
Right. Vishy, you want to go next?
Yeah, I will take another Buccaneer. I'm gonna dip my toes in some of the injured players here now. I'm gonna take Bucky.
Yeah.
I think that if we were drafting before the season, and I said you can have a player that's going to average 16, 17 points a game for the first 4 weeks, and then he might miss a game or two due to injury, but probably be back, which is I think all we know now, as far as I know, what's going on. I would take that in a second runner. Now we're in the late second. I would take Bucky here.
No, I absolutely agree. I think Bucky Irving's been incredible. I think he's number 3 right now in weighted opportunity. So he's also just getting super valuable touches in this offense. And also just the receiving production has been amazing too. I thought he was going to be like pretty good in the receiving game, but he's been extremely good in the receiving game. So if he just continues forward like this, absolutely, he may even outperform this ADP right here.
Yeah. So if we're assuming health and we're not, we have no worry about this injury keeping him out for any extended period of time, maybe just beyond this week, he should be higher than this. I would have ranked him higher than this. I am a little bit concerned. We don't have any information. I guess I should note right now it's Thursday, October 2nd at 6:46 p.m. Eastern time. And so I think everybody's kind of waiting with bated breath to get an update on his injury status. I've heard lots of speculation in both directions that he's not even going to miss this week. Some say he's going to be out 2 to 5 weeks with foot sprain, ankle injury, whatever it may be. I'm just a little bit more conservative in my ranking of him based on that lack of certainty. But I absolutely love what he's done so far this season in terms of the role, the expanded role, even from last year. So yeah, I love the player, just worried about what the health status is.
And just to give a little bit more of an update, just because I do see something right now from Todd Bowles, he said right now it's a sprain and they're taking it day to day. If he's not out of the boot by Friday, I'll be more inclined to say he's probably not going to play.
Okay, good info. Do we sprain of foot or ankle? Do we have that information?
That's all. All he said was it's a sprain. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I don't have anything else in addition to that. So I'm fine with him here.
Ooh.
Will, you want to go next?
Absolutely. Next up, we actually don't have to scroll too far down because we've almost landed there now. I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb at the next spot right here. Okay. Just because of how hot this Cowboys offense is running in terms of just how the offense is playing. Dak Prescott is playing at an MVP level right now, but also just in terms of the pass plays, they're running the most pass plays in the NFL. The defense is abysmal, so they've had to really get out there and throw the ball a lot. And when CeeDee Lamb was out there for the team, he was someone they were looking to early, often, and just pretty much all the time. I feel like CeeDee Lamb, watching him early on, he was just a few plays away from really just breaking one away and having a lot bigger games that he did early on. But, going forward, he's going to be a focal point in this offense. And, yeah, with the way that George Pickens is emerging, with the way Jake Ferguson's been playing, it's going to take a lot of the pressure off of CeeDee Lamb as well because they aren't really going to know who to go to. But I feel like he's just going to explode when he gets back as well.
I certainly hope that you're right. I have him on a couple rosters, and so I would love for him to come right back and be himself. I'm a little bit nervous with the high ankle sprain and what that means specifically for the receiver position upon their return. We've definitely seen that hamper some guys for the rest of a season and tank their efficiency and their targeting ability. I'm not saying I predict that necessarily, but it's definitely within the range of outcomes. And so I had him a little bit lower. But I definitely see the upside. And yeah, I think Dak is absolutely balling right now. So if he can come back and be himself, like prior to this injury, people were redrafting after week 2 and having him as like the number 1 overall pick. So it's a wide range of outcomes, but the ceiling is super high.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got nothing to add there. I think this is the range that he would go again. But obviously with some injury uncertainty, but he's a reliable wide receiver 1. So. think it's fair.
All right. I hate that y'all are making me do this. I love the player, but it's really hard for me to argue for the team. Nico Collins is going to be the next guy on my list.
Thank you.
Yeah, I honestly I had him and Drake London in a similar spot, kind of back to back around this area. Just because of concerns for offenses and quarterback play to this point. That offensive line in Houston has been horrendous. Nico had a good game last week, and I'm not worried about him. This isn't about his talent level or his ability or his separation skills. He's looked great on tape, looked like the same player that he has been since his breakout. It's just CJ Stroud has been way more inaccurate and less able to get him the ball because he doesn't have time. The running game has also been terrible. Now we've seen the emergence of Woody Marks. Maybe that helps some efficiency there and can open up the offense just in general. But I feel like that's a little bit of wish casting. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on Nico in that situation?
With Nico Collins, you're really hoping that with last week, with how the team ended up performing towards the end of the game, that they kind of hit a turning point, which is what I'm hoping for, that they hit a turning point and they're going to start picking it back up, because this team should be performing a lot better than they are. But with that being said, the connection there between CJ Stroud and Nico Collins is still there, and they do still make plays. It's just this offense is, if they're not going, it's just tough to see, honestly, on a week to week. So you're just really hoping they did hit a turning point last week, which I'm thinking they did, to be honest. I think spirits are good in the locker room at the very least.
I think so too. I think barring an injury to CJ Stroud, we would expect Nico's just performance to regress higher. I think he'll perform a little better as the season goes on. So like a late second for a wide receiver 1 attached to CJ Stroud, it seems very fair to me in terms of draft pick.
Certainly going to perform better this week versus the Ravens.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vish. I had to do it to you. And with that, you're up.
He was so stunned he couldn't speak, dude. That week 1 ruined me. That ruined my faith. All right, I'm between a running back and a receiver here, and it's really tight for me. I'm going to lean to the receiver. I'm going to go Devontae Adams.
Okay.
I think, anytime you see like 2 receivers from the same team going in the first 2 rounds, that can be like a little jarring. And I can see here he's taken early 4th, it looks like, preseason. But he's performing well. He's catching touchdowns. I think he's been a little touchdown dependent, but Stafford's doing wonders out there supporting him and Puka. And I don't see a reason why that would change. I think their offense has looked great. And so, if you told me I can have a receiver that's going to average 10, 15 points a game in the late second round, I would gladly take him.
I absolutely agree. I think that the target funnel between, just him and Puka and that passing offense, it's clearly just the 2 of them, but he is still getting extremely valuable looks out there, and he's just still making plays. It feels like he just hasn't really gotten older as time has gone along. He's just kind of stayed the same guy.
Yeah, I mostly agree with this one. I have him just a tiny bit lower, but I can make arguments for why he belongs here. Vishy, you mentioned that he might be touchdown dependent. Honestly, he might be running cold on touchdowns, considering he's at a 50% red zone target share. It's ridiculous the amount that Matthew Stafford is looking his way in the end zone.
He might catch more then. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous the amount of times that they've just missed, in the end zone on end zone targets, not just red zone targets. So yeah, it is crazy to have these 2 guys on the same offense this high, but I mean, they've been getting 60+% of the overall target share. And then when you consider the amount of red zone looks Devontae is getting, I can absolutely see it.
Yep. I think he belongs there. If his touchdowns go up, that's gonna be fun for anyone who has them, myself included. Yeah. I think we're up to you, Will.
Absolutely. I was struggling with this pick right here. I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a hype beast pick, just a little bit. I'm going with Ashton Genty here.
Yeah.
I just believe in the turning point for this team, at least with their usage of him and how they're, deploying him out here on the field. Also, the Michael Myers stance is back, so you got to think that that's just going to add +10, at least in every stat. So, honestly, going forward, in terms of opportunity, he's got every opportunity out there. He's number 7 right now in red zone touches, number 7 in carries overall. At some point, things are going to start swinging his way, and that's something we've kind of been preaching this entire season so far. things will swing Ashton Genty's way at some point, but I think this is more the price that we probably should have taken him at early on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I actually made a mistake. I did have him next, but in the same tier between him and Nico Collins, so it's not that big of a difference. But I completely agree. I think we saw what we should have expected. People were getting confused, right? People were doubting Ashton Genty, the player, when his film looked great through the first 3 weeks. And then we got to see it open up and turn into real production in week 4. Granted, the matchup was a very easy one. But I think the team now sees it, right? They have the picture. They know the blueprint. This is what the offense is. It's give it to Ashton Genty in every possible form. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, if there's anyone who thought that Ashton Genty wasn't a good running back, they just weren't watching any film at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I at least personally have hyped up the rookie running backs a lot in the pod, saying we do have to be patient with them. I think we're seeing kind of all of them starting to pop. I mean, Genty, obviously, it's just a single week, and that might be his high flying week. But I mean, Michael Myers back. He's going to start ripping 60-yard touchdowns a game. And then O'Marion, of course, is producing highly too. So that was between him and Devontae here. I think they're great picks as you go to the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so this puts me up next. And unfortunately, in another position that I don't really want to be in. This is a guy, I'm willing to admit my mistake, but I still am not fully bought in. But I do think that Garrett Wilson probably belongs up here, even though I had him on our fade list heading into the season. It's going to be inconsistent. It's not something that you can count on week over week with this offense, and especially with the quarterback play that you're getting from Justin Fields. But we're seeing how talented Garrett Wilson is. I never necessarily doubted that. It was all about the offensive environment. But they're force feeding him even more than I could have expected. Will and I had talked about this in the preseason where we thought, he could get like a 30% target share, but even with that, like it might not be enough. Well, too bad. He's getting like a 40% target share.
Yeah.
He's eating. So, and the red zone target share for him has been astronomical as well. So, yeah, he's just a volume king and super talented. It's tough to beat that combo.
Yeah, I think the biggest shocker here is that like the Jets offense is surprisingly like they're putting up a lot of points. Like they're 0-4 right now, but they put up 90 points so far this year, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think the Chargers have put up 84 and they're 3-1. So like just to put that in comparison, this Jets offense is really exceeding expectations, but they're doing it on a week-to-week basis, so it's tough to call it a fluke. Week 2 was a struggle, I will say. They did struggle there, but since they've been rolling.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have many comments here.
Who do you want to bring up next?
And cool. So that brings us to pick, what is this, 24? The end of the second
round.
Cool. It starts getting really tough to start projecting players here. I think if y'all look at your ranking, unless you feel differently, I think there's a batch of players who like probably fell that were in the first 2 rounds pre-start of the season that I'm struggling with here. I'm going to deviate from all of that and actually take a quarterback. I think this is mostly motivated by injuries to the other ones that I had in this tier, and I think the value of a replacement would be pretty high. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts here. Okay. At the end of the second. I think that the other quarterbacks that we've hoped to produce, who did at least to start the season, like Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, I think there's injury concerns with them now. Lamar might be out for 2 to 3 weeks it is, and then Jaden Daniels, I'm not up to speed on the situation. Y'all can update me. But Hurts has been producing. I mean, he's dropping 22 points a game consistently, and I mean, none of us are particularly excited about the Eagles' offense from a fantasy perspective, but I mean, it will continue to run through Hurts. He will get goal line touches. They're still running the tush push, and I think having a quarterback that's giving 20 points a game while others aren't has some value.
Absolutely. One thing I've been stressing is if there's anyone who's going to walk away with points from an Eagles game, is going to be Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. So I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I like the rationale a lot. I made the argument for Josh Allen potentially even being as high as a first-round pick. And considering, like you said, with Lamar Jackson going down and some of the disappointments from the other quarterback options, I think he absolutely belongs in the conversation. I did have him a little bit lower, again, just due to general concern for Philly's offense, but I'm fine with having him this high. Okay, so we are through 2 rounds. I believe we're probably around the 50-minute mark. Maybe we don't go all the way through the third round, but we talk about some of our favorites. Either if you guys want that to just be who you have next on the list, or people that you want to shout out as being big risers or fallers. Will, since you're up next, who do you want to talk about?
I think someone I want to shout out, someone I should probably apologize to on the channel. It's Brees Hall. He's definitely been exceeding my expectations so far this season. Even in, again, this Jets offense has been better than we thought it was, but just in terms of how they've been using him, he's got the 5th most targets out of any running back. He's got an 18.3% target share. Just in terms of the metrics and in terms of his usage, I really do love how they're using them back there. And recently, Braylon Allen was just put on IR, so usage for Brees Hall may end up going up some more. They may lean a little bit more on Isaiah Davis too, but I imagine Brees Hall would still get the lion's share of what's going on out there.
Yeah, I like that shout. Vishy, anything to add there?
No, I think I gave like a mini Brees Hall manifesto in one of our pods previously. Yeah. I'm not saying it's like true, but I don't think it's been false yet. Like he is getting the volume. He's getting some receiving volume. And yeah, I think it's wild that the Jets offense has 90 points and they're 0-4. It kind of sounds like what the Ravens have been up to. But yeah, I think yeah, I think like he would go in the third if we were to draft it, and I think that would make a lot of sense.
I like it. I guess I would be up next. Who do I want to shout out? I mean, okay, so just to put it out there, the end of my second round after the guys that were already on this list would have been George Pickens, Rashee Rice, and Trey McBride. I think Pickens' performance has kind of spoken for itself. We'll see what happens when CD comes back, whether you believe that he should be ranked this high rest of season or if that's kind of just how it's going to be while he's the wide receiver one. Trey McBride, whether I'm holding on to my priors or not, he hasn't been producing at a super high level, but I think just based on the state of the tight end position and what I project from him going forward, I think it's worth the conversation. But Rashee Rice, I think we definitely need to talk about. He's only got 2 more games left on his suspension, and he is way down this list. Mm-hmm. And I project him to go nuts when he comes back. Maybe I'm tempering expectations just by a tiny bit compared to where I was a week ago, now that we've seen Xavier Worthy come back and be such a focal point. But I'm not really worried about that negatively impacting Rashee Rice. I think it's just going to open up this offense in a way that we haven't seen in kind of a lot of years. It's the Chiefs offense hasn't been explosive. It hasn't been high flying. And I think with Worthy healthy, at least, sort of back on the field, at least, and with Rice back on the field, we're going to see Mahomes go crazy. We're going to see Rashee Rice get a ton of volume, and we're going to see those deep shots hitting to Worthy. And it's going to be a combo that's going to be very, very fantasy friendly.
I absolutely agree. I think that, I've been a big proponent that this offense just has been kind of improvising since Rashee Rice has been gone. And when he gets back, they're just going to be fully on track, and he's going to be the focal point of this offense.
Yeah, I've tried trading for him. No luck. But I like to shout out to him. I like to shout out to Trey McBride too, and Pickens. I was going to bring up those 3 names, and so I may as well add a 4th. And I want to add Travis Etienne. I think he warrants discussion. I don't think he's the most exciting player. And honestly, I don't know if rest of season he'll continue producing like he is. I think that some of us were excited about the other options, the other younger options in the Jacksonville offense, namely Tootin. And I don't know, LaQuinn Allen might start to get some more receiving work. Who knows? But Travis Etienne he's still looking for him.
I'm trying to find him. I'm sorry.
he might not be a football player. Bro, where is he?
There he is.
Yeah, he might not be the most exciting, and I think there are talented options behind him, mainly Bashal Tootin. But Etienne's producing very well. He's averaging 15 rushes a game. He's getting a little bit of receiving volume. He's the 9th RB in half PPR, averaging 16 points a game. I think that's great value. Like if he were to go in the 3rd or 4th round here, which actually might be where he was going. I don't quite remember his draft day ADP, but
he was going significantly later.
Significantly later. Well, in that case, I think he's a value then for anyone that does have him. I think he's producing well, and at least, like I said, maybe not the most exciting player. He's not the youngest running back, but he's performing. He's performing really well this season.
Yeah, I like it. Will and I did have an episode recently. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. We did have him listed as a sell. And I think you kind of outlined that perspective, the potential for his efficiency to decline, for him to kind of return to his historical mean, where throughout the season he tends to break down a little bit, whether that be through injury or through just efficiency decline, like I said, and Bashal Tutin's emergence into this offense. But right now, as it stands through 4 weeks, that is kind of wish casting. Like, he's looked great. Liam Cohen's ability to get his running backs in space and make them incredibly efficient has been on full display. Their running offense has been amazing, whether it's been ETN or otherwise, and he's been the lead guy. The opportunities, I do feel like, have started to skew slightly away from him. But I think even in the case where it is now, if it were to maintain, then yeah, he'd be a fantastic pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely in the conversation if he were to redraft here in the third, fourth round. And I think he's just a player that's not talked about too much. Yeah, I mean, he's brought up as a sell. I think he's a sell right now after that 19-point week he had. But
yeah,
but I mean, it's still like you have to pick people. Everyone has a price, and I think his price would be around here.
Yeah, Will, your thoughts?
No, I absolutely agree. I think his price should be somewhere around here. The thing that scares me is that he does sort of thrive off of those sort of home run plays, but he's been getting them done so far, so I can't really knock him for it yet,
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. Anybody else that we want to shout out before we just kind of recap the list?
Just someone else I think is definitely going in this range. Probably Trey McBride at this point as well.
Yeah.
Just how he's been performing. He has been the best tight end in fantasy right now. Brock Bowers obviously dealing with injury, and just other guys not performing super high up to expectations. But obviously, Trey McBride, super targeted in his offense, has a great snap share, just great route percentage as well, 100% route percentage. Number one air yard share amongst tight ends. He's just number one in a lot of metrics amongst tight ends. So using a second round pick on him at this point wouldn't have probably been a bad shout.
Yeah. And I think we'll see the production catch up too. Like, just looking at his game logs, it hasn't been quite as high flying as we hoped. And he's getting outproduced by a handful of guys right now. But considering the running back injuries that the Cardinals have faced, I think they're going to be forced to throw it a little bit more. And just based on game scripts, maybe not this week versus Tennessee, but coming up, they're having some tougher matchups than they did to start the season. So they might have to air it out, and Trey McBride is going to be a big beneficiary of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I actually had him as the 24th ranked player here in this redraft, right at the end of the second. I think this actually might be considered a slightly slow start for him, which is kind of funny. I mean, you're looking at double-digit points from a tight end. You're pretty happy with that usually, but I think we'll see his production, rise a little bit more as the season goes on.
Absolutely. All right. So just for the audience, let's do a recap of our first round. We had Puka in a tier by himself. I think we didn't really get into tiers beyond Puka, so disregard any of the tier breaks necessarily. But Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Devin Achane. To round out the first round, we had Saquon Barkley, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Josh Jacobs. Then we had Amarian Hampton, Drake London, Josh Allen, Rome Odunze, Emeka Egbuka, Bucky Irving, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Ashton Genty, Garrett Wilson, and Jalen Hurts, rounding out our redraft of the 2025 fantasy football season through 4 weeks. Any other comments that we want to have before we hop out of here?
Man, just 21 gun salute down there to Malik Neighbors, man.
Yeah, and everyone go pay for an Etsy witch to lift the curse on the Ravens or whatever people are up to these days. It's getting ridiculous, man. Vibes are low. Vibes are low. But if they give Derrick Henry 40 carries a game, and he holds on to the football like I'm gonna hold this pumpkin like this, then I think we're good to go. I think we'll be back. We'll be back in time for playoffs.
I hope so. I got a lot of Ravens on my fantasy teams as well, so I'm hoping for that. And I gotta also just second Will's comments. I'm looking at a Malik Neighbors jersey on my wall right now. Yeah. Maybe my favorite player in the NFL. I fell to my knees when I saw the news. That was rough.
Middle of the target, fell straight to my knees.
But I don't want to end on a sad note. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave a like on it, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest releases. Let us know what you thought about our list. If you have any disagreements, if you like what we had to say, drop all that stuff down in the comments below. And also check the description for the link to our Discord if you want to join the conversation over there. We got a nice little community, and we'd love to have you in it. But yeah, I think that'll do it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.